Great, shows that we're live. Just going to double check that. All right, it looks like we have some folks that are already starting to tune in with us. Good morning and happy Monday to you all. Today's broadcast is generally an update from our mayor, but we're giving you a little bit of a curveball. If you tuned into our broadcast last Friday, then you would have heard some chamber updates, one of which was about our State of the City event that's this Wednesday. And so we actually have our keynote address by Mayor Seitz during that program. So we're giving her the day off today since she will be delivering a great program for us this Wednesday. And instead, who we have with us is from our sustainability office for the City of Westminster. Paul, I'm very excited to have you on here with me.
Thank you so much, Julia. Really pleased to be here this morning.
Absolutely. So the city had recently hired a sustainability officer. I want to say in the last 2.5, maybe going on 3 years now, honestly. Paul, it was the perfect candidate for this. He actually came to us with so much experience and some great innovative ideas to implement for the city. And I'm so excited that he is going to touch on some of those efforts, what his role directly is, what some of their projects are. Now, before we delve deep into this, you know that I like to give you a quick overview of ways you can connect with us. If this is your very first time here on our Facebook page, I ask that you hit the like button, that you also make sure that you have the notifications turned on where you're following us. This will allow you to be updated when we post content, and especially the times that we do go live as well. Now, at the very same time, we are also streaming this on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. You can find us on all things social media on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber, on Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber. And then, of course, our website for reference is westminsterchamber.biz. Now, for all of you that have continued to come back to us since the very beginning, I thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. We've been hosting these for a little over 1.5 years. You can find those videos in the section of the videos page here on our Facebook and, of course, on our website page directly. I am Juliette Abdel, Chamber President and CEO, and I'm so pleased to have you guys on here with me. The comment section are crucial for us to engage with you. So along the way, as we are providing content to you, as we start talking about something, if there's a comment that you'd like to make, whether it's about what we are sharing, if it's in reference to something that you may have seen in another community, maybe questions that we didn't get to, comment them into the chat so that we can go ahead and address those for you. It's also our way of knowing who's on here with us. I do see Lucy. Thank you for tuning in, Lucy. Wayne Anderson, thank you for the good morning message to both Paul and myself. Of course, our past board chairman, Brian Head, is also on here engaging with us with a nice good morning message to you, Paul. And then we have Parker Brown. Parker was our Westy Achiever last year for always being engaged on all things and has shown up to almost every single one of my live broadcasts. So thank you for being on here, Parker, and being a part of our video today. So let's go ahead and just deep dive into this. Paul, I'm not even going to attempt to say your last name, but I'm going to have you share that.
You'd hurt yourself if you tried to pronounce it.
Right. And then I had last week's presentation. People were spelling out extrascaping for me so I don't butcher it too much phonetically. So if you can share out a little bit about not only your last name, but tell us a little bit about you. Are you here in Westminster? Are you originally a Colorado native? Who is Paul?
Yeah. So the first thing is that you had said I had been here for about 2.5 years. Well, it's actually been 4 years, and it's been just an amazing period of time here. And again, Paul Schmeeken, Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Westminster. I actually do live in Westminster. Before this, I worked for the City of Denver on a lot of business and neighborhood type programs. Not originally from Colorado, like so many of us, originally from Madison, Wisconsin. So I suppose that's just kind of the quick and dirty on myself. What else do you want to know?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you've been there for that long. I'm so embarrassed. We may have connected a little bit after you started. I'm going to leave it at that. And that's probably why. Wisconsin, known for their cheese. Is Madison also known for that as well?
Yes, and a university and the state capitol and a lot of other fun things.
Yeah. What brought you out to Colorado?
The mountains and a job, and just kind of looking for a career change and some new opportunities.
Awesome. And you are a Westminster resident, so thank you for not only working in our city, but also residing here. I always like to say if we're promoting that this is the place to be, then we should be doing our part and also supporting that. But Paul, you've also been with the city of Denver prior to this in a similar role or a little bit. Okay, so tell us about your role directly and kind of what you're in charge of.
Yeah, so I think when I talk about sustainability, that means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Everybody's got a different definition for it. And I've really kind of come down to the definition of, I work on programs and projects that have environmental, economic, and community benefit. And really what that means is that my staff and I, we're actually a staff of 2. My staff and I are always looking for ways to save money for businesses and residents. We're trying to figure out how we can better conserve resources, energy and water come to mind. And then we're also trying to figure out, how do we build community? How do we bring people together and to solve common problems, but also to experience one another? And of course, we know that's been a huge challenge the last 1.5 years, but we're trying to adapt to that and kind of figure out, how do we kind of bring all those together? I think the point is that when you think about energy, economics, environment, and community, we're trying to do all those at the same time with multiple projects. So any one of those are fine things, but my role is really to try to figure out what are those things the city can do that touches on all 3 of those, that provide clear value and benefit to residents and the businesses.
Yeah, no, so you're tasked with quite a bit. Councillor Bowles is on here with us, sharing a nice good morning message our way to Paul, and I believe he's probably been seeing some of those efforts that you're doing. You are a staff of now 2. At one point, you and I were joking because we were both 1. Now we're both 2, right? And so in that time, in that growth, you have launched some initiatives. And what were some of those notable ones that you may have wanted to mention to folks that are on here?
Yeah, a couple of them. I think the one we'll spend a little bit of time on today, given the audience, is our new sustainable business program. It's called SAGE, S-A-G-E. It's actually an acronym. It stands for Save, Act, Grow, and Earn. And this is really a confidential, voluntary program and free to any business in Westminster. So that's something that we're promoting. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. The one thing I want to pause on just for a second is, you talked about, I'm an office of 2 and you're not an office of 2. And really it requires us to think a little bit differently about how we get work done. And so in the city, with the sustainability office, we do a lot of partnering. We work with like every single department in the city: public works, parks, economic development, community development. We also work with a lot of external partners, clearly the business community, nonprofits. The other thing we do, though, is we work a lot with our regional partners and neighboring cities, because you name any one of the major metro challenges we're facing, whether it's energy or homelessness or transportation, no one city can do that by itself. So we're really big on partnering with our surrounding communities, Broomfield and Thornton, Louisville, Superior, and doing this collaboratively. So with an office of 2, we really got to think carefully about where we spend our resources and also how we partner and collaborate with other people.
That is very well said. And we are not on an island alone. And I think that's a huge advantage actually to both you and I, is that we have this opportunity of being so much more engaged with our partners as opposed to just thinking about them later on. No, we are including them in the process along the way, similar to the SAGE program when we start really talking about it and then how that was formed and who you brought to the table very early on for that. So you did say that very well. I see Cami on here. Thank you, Cami Lynn, for joining us. Paul, that was one of the programs that you mentioned. There was also a second one that you had said had developed under your reign. And what was that?
Well, there's a couple of them that we've been doing. We've been actually spending quite a bit of time on energy work. So one of our best external partners is Xcel Energy. And so we've done a couple projects with them over the last few years. One of them was the city bought down the price of something called the Home Energy Squad. This is actually available to residents all over Xcel territory. But we got a little extra special love from Xcel. We brought down the price of that. They helped us to promote the free Home Energy Squad program, and we actually had about 478 Westminster residents take us up on that offer. And it was basically an energy advisor comes to your house. This was, of course, before COVID, but they come to your house and they provide all sorts of ideas and suggestions on how you can make your home more energy efficient and save money on your energy bill. And then they leave behind a little bit of free product like LED light bulbs and faucet aerators and things like that. So that's just one example of where we've worked very closely with Xcel on energy issues. We've actually worked with them a little bit on electric vehicles. So Xcel is starting to significantly ramp up their work in electric vehicles. They actually helped us develop an electric vehicle action plan for the city, and that covers our fleet and also how we promote electric vehicles to the public. About a week and a half ago, we had an electric vehicle ride and drive up at the Orchard Town Center Farmers Market. We had 3 electric vehicles that were brought on site. We had a Tesla Model 3, a Nissan Leaf, and then the new Ford Mach-E. And boy, were there a lot of people crawling over the Ford Mach-E. People were really excited by that vehicle.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I wish I'm over here like, oh man, I should have gone out there for that Tesla. That is pretty great. And that actually kicks us into this next transition point. And that is about, you mentioned an action plan here in the city. And I'm assuming that there is some overall plan of work or program of work that maybe are your key priorities as an office or as a department. Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, so I think the plan you're referring to is our sustainability plan, which we recently finished up, and we're in conversations about moving forward on that. That actually has 7 areas of focus, and I can never remember all 7 of them, so I always have to look to a reference point. So the 7 areas are energy, economic development, health and wellness, housing and neighborhoods, materials and waste, transportation, and then natural resources and environment. And I should say that this is really a coordinated plan with other city plans that are underway. We've branded this as Westminster Forward, and that really covers a lot of updates to existing city plans that was really needed. Some of our other plans that were years and years old. So there's a collaboration between the sustainability plan, the comprehensive plan, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the Transportation Mobility Plan, the Water Supply Plan. There's a lot of planning going on. But I think the point is that the city is really trying to look at these issues comprehensively and kind of figure out the best approach for each of them. And each of the plans has extensive public engagement, and they've really kind of developed a kind of a groundbreaking approach to this, because there aren't too many cities that do all these plans at once and make sure the plans are talking to one another. So in the sustainability plan, I think we already talked about like 2 of the top priorities that we're working on. Our sustainable business program, our energy work, and our electric vehicle work. As far as what my office works on, those are the kind of the primary things that we have responsibility to work on.
And tell me a little bit about some of the efforts that you've been doing to encourage more of the electric vehicles. I know that you are always privy about what resources are out there and you try and get that word out. Are there additional ways that you have been partnering, or maybe statewide networks that you've been able to tap into?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing is there's a group called the Regional Air Quality Council, and I think air quality is pretty much in people's minds this last summer. So it's been a pretty horrible air quality year. And the Regional Air Quality Council actually provides grants for electric vehicle charging stations. And these grants are available to businesses and government and nonprofits. And we've taken advantage of that with the city, and we've installed a few electric vehicle charging stations using that money. We have one at City Hall. There's a new one on the 3rd level of the JC parking garage in downtown. I'm working to get another one installed later this year on street in downtown, which will be kind of unique. There aren't too many on-street electric vehicle charging stations in the metro area. So we're really trying to kind of maximize our resources by using other people's resources. That's another little trick. So, but I think the electric vehicle ride and drive event is also a way to get the word out that there are some pretty significant benefits to electric vehicles. Air quality, lower maintenance. The capital cost can be a little higher up front, but if you look at kind of the life cycle, they're going to save you money on maintenance and also gasoline. So we're trying to kind of use a lot of the regional resources to get the word out about electric vehicles. And then I did mention that XL is also starting to get into this area. They've offered I think some rebates for electric vehicles in the last couple of years. I don't know if they've got one active right now, but they are really starting to push hard in that area, and that's great. We really support what they're doing.
Absolutely. I see Jeff Hanlon on here as well, and Jeff is a big fan of sustainability transportation alternatives. He is quickly thanking us for highlighting some of those efforts that are taking place. Paul, are you aware of how many have taken advantage of the grants outside of the city of Westminster that's out there, or is it pretty much no one has in the city outside of our municipality?
That's a really good question. I've heard of a couple of businesses that have taken advantage, but not as many as I'd like. And the Regional Air Quality Council runs this grant program 3 times a year. The next one, I think the due date is probably October 15th. So they'll probably open that up September 15th and then close it on October 15th. And you can find out more information by going to the Regional Air Quality Council website. I believe it's raqc.com, or it might be .org. It's probably .org. So yeah, I'd love to see a lot more businesses and also property managers, especially with multifamily housing developments. And so what we will do is that when that grant is announced, we will broadcast that on social media. And thank you, Juliet, for the website. So we'll broadcast that on social media and on our sustainability webpage, and then on our sustainable business webpage too. So we do want to get the word out on that.
Yeah, I think that's great. Last question on this. I know I've kind of harped back and forth on the grant, but whenever there's resources that are out there, I always want people to be aware of them. Is that if a business or, and you actually highlighted it perfectly, property managers are probably the ideal person that we want for that, because a typical tenant necessarily wouldn't be able to make those upgrades to their lot space that they are allotted. That being said, if someone is interested in it, right, and they look at it, is that something that your team helps them with trying to apply for and receive that grant, or is it kind of hands off since it is an individual applicant?
We can help them. We've gone through this a couple times with city electric vehicle charging stations, but we're more than happy to help businesses. We've got a little bit of experience in doing these grant applications, so more than happy to help on that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so let's hop back quickly over to the SAGE program. I know this is one that you're excited about and you wanted to share a little bit. So if you want to give us kind of a little bit about that, what that program is, maybe the framework and how it developed.
Yeah, so this is actually, I've got some experience in this because I was running a similar program in Denver, but I'd like to think the program we created in Westminster was tailored to Westminster, kind of with all of our unique attributes. And as I said before, it's free and confidential and voluntary. We're basically here to help. And so it really comes down to about 4 areas that we emphasize. The first is kind of general assistance, some technical assistance, some awareness of what's going on. And so the Regional Air Quality Council grants are an example of that. And also all the different rebates that XL has. I mean, I'm amazed how many rebates they have that a lot of people still don't know about. And so what we want to do is we want to help people kind of understand what's out there, what's available, and what they'd be eligible to apply for. Just as an example, and I didn't really know this until a couple of weeks ago, but XL has been providing a lot of free outdoor LED lighting for parking lots. And we actually hooked them up with a local property manager, and they're going to be replacing a lot of their parking lot lights with LEDs, and that's thanks to XL Energy. So we find out about these things, XL tells us about these things, and we broadcast this as much as we can. So the assistance and advising is like one of the very first things we want to do. The second, if a business is interested, we actually have a certification program. So they can kind of do certain number of activities, some mandatory requirements and some electives, and we can certify them. And that basically means we'll broadcast that this is a sustainable business. They're doing fantastic work. We kind of do this again through social media, our website, but it's actually a nice way for a business to kind of think a bit more comprehensively about what they're doing and where they can make a difference. How can they reduce their costs through energy? How can they be a better community partner through more volunteer efforts? How can they kind of increase kind of their visibility in the community with customers? So the certification program is something that I also ran in Denver, and there's actually probably about 4 or 5 similar programs in Colorado that do the same thing. So there's another great support network with a lot of other cities. The other thing we do is a lot of learning and education. So we've been doing a few kind of online webinars. There's actually one coming up next week on how to form a green team. And we're working with a group called EcoCycle. And so EcoCycle does these webinars for us. And we did one, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago on waste management, because, you know, some businesses are really trying to get a handle on how do we reduce waste generation, or how do we kind of cut our waste costs. So we run these webinars. So that's the third area. And then the fourth area, and because of COVID, we haven't been able to do this, but networking. I think networking is something we want to start doing more of. So we've thought about events. We've thought about, you know, lunch and learns, you know, maybe with the chamber sometime. So those are the 4 areas that we really focus on with Sage. And we're really trying to help businesses kind of save money, especially in this difficult time with COVID. We're also trying to help market their work. We're trying to help them kind of make better connections in the community. So that's really in a nutshell what Sage is all about. Yeah. And you can find out more information, Sage, S-A-G-E at, thank you very much. Or you can send an email, sage@cityofwestminster.us. So there's a number of ways you can get a hold of us. My staff person, Bridger Tomlin, runs that program, and he'll be happy to help anybody that wants some help.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for giving that big overview about this program and some of the efforts that you've been doing underneath that that are available as educational opportunities and even cost-saving methods for our businesses. We did host also a kind of a sustainability talk with Republic, our partner, a couple of times on our live broadcast for those of you that ever want to go back to those videos and find them. But we talked about kind of food waste, especially very early on with COVID. And then since they were seeing such an increase in people staying at home and the amount of waste that was going out. So definitely there are ways that you can be doing things in your business and even in your home environments. And what I've done is I placed the Sage Business website, pulled that up for you guys so you could see it. And I also have the link to the sustainability plan also included in the chat section. This is the plan that Paul highlighted early on for those of you that are just hopping on with us. And he really went into the 7 different key areas that they have, or the key focal areas for the sustainability department. And then the final thing that I went ahead and pulled up while you were chatting, Paul, was our rebates effort. So for residents, of course, this is in the area of energy, waste, the materials, water, transportation, various resources that are out there with our partners, of course, Excel, some with United Power, which is also a strong partner of ours. So those links have also been included as well for you if you'd like to reference. We do have a quick question that popped up, Paul. This question came to us during the time that you were touching earlier about some of the changes that you've done throughout the city, specifically about traffic signals and things of that nature. This comes to us from Paul, and his question relates to the LED in their parking lot. So they're located at Carrabba's, right off of kind of Wadsworth and 92nd, or Old Wads and 92nd kind of area.
I think the answer to that depends on what kind of lighting you have in your parking lot. Sometimes, and I'm not a lighting expert by any stretch of the imagination, if you have more Cobra headlights, kind of the lights with the long stalk off the top, sometimes XL can do a quick change. Other lighting types, if it's more decorative, there may or may not be LED lighting available. But if you're interested, please send your contact information and we'll reach out to you, and I'll have Bridger Tomlin follow up with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Paul. And Parker, we will get you connected with their department so that way we can make sure you get that answer taken care of. And for any of you that are hopping on here, we have Paul with us from the City of Westminster. He is their sustainability office, leads that team and department, and has touched on a variety of items. Specifically, there are 2 programs that they have out there focused on the electric vehicles, and then of course the Sage program. We've also gone in detail over what exactly does his role mean and who the heck is Paul? How did he even wind up here in Westminster? Westminster. So a lot of great things that we've touched on. Paul, I don't want to cut you off if there was something in particular you were hoping to get out there. Believe it or not, this always flies by. I know. So you have a few minutes left, and I want to see if was there something that I didn't ask you that you were hoping that you could share with the people that are on here?
Yes, there is actually one more thing, and this is actually another partnership with Xcel Energy. So just this week, we're launching a new Xcel Westminster Small Business Energy Solutions campaign. And so it's very simple. I can provide more information in another context, but you would basically contact Xcel or their contractor. They're called Clear Result. Clear Result would come out to your business. They would give you an assessment of your business for free. They would kind of give you suggestions on what you need to change. Maybe it's HVAC, maybe it's refrigeration, maybe it's lighting, and they'll kind of give you like a little checklist, and then they'll let you know what Xcel rebates are available to cover some of those. And then on top of that, depending on the type of equipment, the city can probably stack a little bit more money on top of what Xcel offers to sweeten the deal just a little bit. So it's a great way to kind of think about energy in your business, save money. And it's available probably now until we're going to run this for about 3 months. This is not something Xcel has done before with a city. So yay, once again, we're first in Westminster. But the basic thing is that you can call, I'll give you a phone number here. The phone number for Clear Result is 877-287-2250. You can also find this information on the website that Juliet provided just a couple minutes ago. It is on our Sage website, so please take advantage of it. It's a great deal from Xcel, and the city can also kick in a little bit of money, which again is pretty critical right now with all the COVID problems businesses have had. So that was my last thing I wanted to hit on. It's a great program. We're looking forward to it.
No, I think that's awesome. And we will do our part in finding that information, sharing it out to you guys. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you also check our websites, our press release section, as we try and overlap on things and resources that are out there that the city does push out, so that way it supports our overall business community. Believe it or not, we're nearing our 30-minute mark. So I do want to give this quick plug in. Again, we have Paul from the city of Westminster. If you did not have a question, or a question did arise, but you didn't feel comfortable asking it on this broadcast, you can always DM the page. We always have people that do that. It's entirely okay to ask us questions in private if you are not feeling comfortable asking it here on the chat section. If you end up watching this video and maybe you didn't catch us live, we're no longer here in real time, that does not mean that we do not check this video comment section. So what that does mean is that you can give us a hashtag replay and ask us any questions, maybe comment that you've tuned in, so that way we know if this resonated with you. If there is additional information that you were hoping for, that we can guide that into future conversations that we have. And of course, if you've not already done so and have been tuned in with us since the beginning, hit that share button so others in your network can know about these programs for residents, for businesses, and for our overall community. The best way that we can let people know, of course, is through our own individual personal contacts that we have. So hit the share button on this video. For those of you that are on here and are registered for the State of the City, it is this Wednesday. Very exciting program. I know Paul's going to be out there. Mm-hmm. We're going to have our mayor be the keynote, several of our other partners. Quick shout out and thank you not only to City of Westminster, but Adams County as well for partnering on this program. Of course, our awesome VIP sponsors, including Da Vinci and Westminster Public Schools, Church Ranch Event Center, and so many others. We appreciate you guys not only yielding us the resources, but of course, your support on a program that we host annually. So if you were hoping to get in and did not register, the RSVP should be getting cut off by this afternoon. Let us know if you're having any issues, and we'll go from there. We won't have a broadcast on Wednesday since we'll be tied up with the State of the City. So instead, we'll be back here on Friday. So we'll miss you guys for the next 4 days until we see you on Friday. But I do want to thank you for tuning into the broadcast. And Paul, I want to thank you so much for fielding all my questions your way and giving us so much information that we can go off of.
Thank you, Juliet. This has been a pleasure. A lot of fun.
Of course. Well, I will go ahead and end the broadcast. If any of you have any questions, please make sure that you continue to comment them in the chat section or directly DM this page. Have a great day.